Hey guys, it's Hayes with CheatSheetPros.com. Today we are going to do some sports betting basics. We're going to call this Sports Betting 101. Today is June 2nd, 2022, and as sports betting becomes legal across the United States, more and more people are going to want to know how to sports bet. So I have a lot of fantasy players on our website, and some of them were not familiar with sports betting and asked for a basic tutorial. So this is a very beginner tutorial. If you've never made a sports bet or you don't understand it, we're going to run through spreads. We're going to look at money lines, totals, line movement. We're going to talk about parlays and what those are, and teasers. Those are what I consider to be the basics of sports betting. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing is spreads and money lines. So there's, depending upon the sport, you have spreads and you have money lines. So a spread is betting a team to win by so many points or getting so many points with an underdog. So we're going to look at spreads first. So I want to go down here and look at NFL Week 1. And let me get down here. Okay, so here's NFL Week 1. Football is basically a lot of spreads. That's the majority of what's bet. So here you can see the Ravens and Jets, and you see this -4.5, -5. So the spread is Ravens at open -4.5, and it's currently -5. So anytime you see a minus sign, Vegas has pegged that team as the favorite. And then the other side is plus, and they are getting points. So in this example, if you bet Ravens -5, or you could bet Jets +5. Now, what that means is the Ravens, whatever the final score is, you subtract 5, and that determines if you win your bet. So an easy way to look at it is the Ravens have to win the game by more than 5 points to cover your bet. So if the Ravens win 16-10, you laid -5, you won your bet by 1 point. If you have Jets +5 on the other side and they lose 14-10, you win your bet because you got 5 points to stay within there. So NBA is like that as well. So here, this is the Celtics Game 1 finals tonight. So you can see we have the spread, the money line, and the total. So this is going to be common on most books. So the spread, Boston Celtics are +4, or you could take Golden State -4. If you don't want to lay the 4 points, you can go over here to the money line of +145 or -175, and we're going to talk about how to calculate these numbers. Now, when you see the spread of +4, -4, it's usually always -110 or close to it, and that's the juice. So we're going to talk about what 110 means and what this full money line is. So taking a look at this, so spreads are pretty common. You know, if you bet Golden State -4, that means they got to win the game by more than 4 points. If they win by 4 exactly, that is a push. If you bet Boston Celtics +4, they can lose the game by 1, 2, or 3 points, and you still win your bet, so you're getting 4 points. Now, the money line, if you think Boston's going to win and you don't need these 4 points, you can bet this money line here of +145, and then that's going to pay a little bit better. So let's take a look at that. So on your money line, when you see plus, that means that's how much you're getting for, consider $100. And minus, that's how much you're going to bet to win $100, so it flips. So for example, the -110, this is the common juice for the book. It's called a 10% VIG. So let's go ahead and take a look at. So the easiest way to do this, so if you look at it, this is 110 to win 100. So it's 1.1 to 1 odds. So -110, since there's a minus, that's how much you have to bet to win $100. Now, you don't have to bet $100. You could bet $11 to win 10. It's just 1.1 to 1. Now, the easiest way to look at this is just imagine there's a decimal point right there. So you're looking at -1.1. So if you consider it this way, -1.1 means you risk, because it's a minus, 1.1 units to win 1 unit. So this can be like 55 to win 50, 44 to win 40, 11 to win 10, or you could do 1100 to win 1000. It's just you're risking 1.1. That 10% is what Vegas ideally wants to make. So when you see -110 on each side, the reason you have that is in a perfect scenario, let's say Vegas would have $5 million on Boston +4 and $5 million on Golden State -4. They want to be right in the middle, and then they're basically going to make 10% either way, because these teams are laying -110 and this is laying -110. So one of them is going to win. So that's kind of how Vegas makes their money, but they make a lot more than that. So consider that decimal point right there. So now when we go on and we look at something, let's say -250, or let's use this Golden State win -175. If you just want them to win straight up -175, that would be 1.75 units to win 1 unit. So then that would be risking $17.50 to win $10, or vice versa. Then it would be $35 to win 20. So you're laying 1.75 to 1 odds when you see that. So the same thing is true when you go to MLB. The Dodgers take a lot of money. So let's say they're the other night they were -335. So that means you're going to risk 3.35 units to win 1 unit. So that's not very good odds. So it would cost you $33.50 to win $10. So that's a lot of risk and a very little reward. But if you go down to the other side, and let's say the other side is plus, we're just going to say 250 to make it easy. Now, when you see this plus, that means that's what you're going to win for 1 unit. So plus 250, and let's do the same thing. Let's put a decimal point in there. So 1 unit wins 2.5 units. So that would be 10 wins $25, or 100 wins $250. So the plus, you're going to get the money for 1 unit. I always imagine a little decimal point there. That's the easiest way to come up with it. So in this case, if you bet Golden State money line, you'd have to risk 1.75 units to win 1 unit, or $17.50 to win 10, vice versa. If you go with the money line for Boston, they have to win the game outright because you're not taking the 4 points. So 1 unit pays, imagine a decimal point, 1.45 units. So $10 would pay $14.50, or $1,000 would pay $1,450. So that's how the money line works. Now you notice these don't add up, and that's because there's a lot more juice built in here that Vegas makes. So typically if they're laying 1, there's a large gap there. It's not a true line. So here our options are Boston +4 and lay -110, so 1.1 to win 1, that's common. Or we can have them win straight up and 1 unit wins 1.45 units. And then Golden State, we can lay 4, or if they just want to win straight up, we can lay 1.75 to 1, which is not real great odds. So that's the basics on your spreads and your money lines. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other ones. Now, when you get into football and NBA, you have a lot of spreads. That's the most common bet. But when you get into baseball, you don't see spreads like that. Now, they have a run line where you can lay, basically it's -1, -1.5, however you want to look at it, and they give you that line. But baseball is a lot of money lines. So here you can see San Francisco and Miami. Miami is -137, so we would risk 1.37 to win 1. Let me find a big one in here. So the Mets and the Dodgers, it opened at -154. It's currently -162. So -162 means you would risk 1.62 to win 1. So $16.20 for $10, or $162 to win 100 is how you would look at that. And then if you come to the other side, it's not a true +162. It's probably +140. And then the +140, you would risk 10 to win 14, or 100 to win 140. You would get 1.4 for your 1. So hopefully that makes sense. Clear as mud. So those are your spreads and your money lines. Baseball is a lot of money lines. Hockey is a lot of money lines. NFL, basketball, then you have a lot of spreads, but you can do spread or money lines. So that's kind of the basics of what you're looking at. So now when you look at a board and you see, LA Dodgers -162, you know what that means. That's laying 1.6 to 1, basically. Now, I want to look at totals real quick. So totals are pretty self-explanatory. So over here in the NBA game, we have the Celtics. The total here is 210.5. That's just the total points in the game. You pick over or you pick under. Now you can see it opened at 210.5 and it's went up to 212.5. So that means people are betting on it to go over. For baseball, it's the same thing. Let's see here. So here we have, Padres and Milwaukee's 8.5, still 8.5. San Francisco, Miami is over under a 7. Here we have an over under of 9 that moved to 9.5, and that's just the total in the game. And same thing, let me see. So hockey, Colorado, Edmonton, over 7 goals. So you just pick over or you pick under, and most of the time it's minus 110. Sometimes you'll see it juiced up a little bit to minus 115, minus 120, depending upon where the money's coming in. I actually like that over. That was a crazy one, but we'll talk about that in another video. So now so we know what spreads and money lines are, and totals are self-explanatory. We kind of know what that is. Same thing with football. A lot of over-unders are like 44 to 48 points, and that's just total points in the game from both teams. And then now I want to talk about line movement and money. So you'll see me, I post a lot on Twitter and in the Facebook groups and spend a lot of time in the chat, and I talk about like the money report. So over here on this particular one, you can see we have our cash, we have our tickets, and then don't worry about the picks. That's just people who are registered on this website. They go through and pick their games for contests. So cash and tickets. Tickets is like if 10 people go in and they all bet $10, that's 10 tickets on one side. So say 10 people come in here and they bet Warriors minus 3.5, then that's going to give you 10 tickets to 0 tickets for the Celtics. So this gives you a percentage of tickets. The cash, I watch that a lot more. That's how much money is wagered on one side. And I think, let me see, there's somewhere on this website where you can click it and look at it. Let's see if we can find it. Okay, so yeah, so here you can see kind of the money that is spread. Now, this particular website wouldn't tell me where they pull their data. They said, oh, it's just a mix, blah, blah, blah. But here we can see wherever they're pulling it, there's $464,000 on the Celtics-Warriors game already. And then you've got 71% of that cash money on Warriors minus 3.5. So you got this 71% here. So that's kind of a majority. Now, what you'll see when I'm looking at cash, one of the things that I'll do is I'll go to this cash line and I'll kind of scroll down and I look for stuff around 90. So it's early, so these numbers can be skewed, but when you get closer to game time, if you get a game with over 90% of the cash on one side, that's something I want to take a look at. I'm not saying run out and bet every single one. It's a lock. I'm just saying take a look at it. Lots of times I can narrow down like, hey, I don't like it, but I see why everybody is betting that side. So in this case, Cincinnati and Washington, Cincinnati opened at 120, minus 120, so we're laying 1.2 to win 1, and now it's minus 129, so basically you're laying 1.29 odds to win 1, and 97% of the cash is on Cincinnati. So that's one I would take a look at. Now, I've already earmarked this game. I do like Cincinnati, so that's what I'm going to take a look at. But again, we're not doing picks in this video. We're just talking about sports betting. So here we see 97% of the early cash is on Cincinnati and 86% of the tickets. So when you have cash and tickets on the same side, you can say a lot of people are on that. When we flip down here, a lot of this you'll see 50, 60, 70% back and forth. Here we have St. Louis and the Cubs. Over of 8, still 8, and 99% of the cash is on the over. So that's one I would watch throughout the day and see if it moves up, moves down, kind of what it does. Atlanta, Colorado, we have 99% of the cash on the over, 97% of the tickets on the over, and it's at 11. It's already moved to 11.5. What is that? Okay, and then flipping down, sorry, my phone was ringing. And for this particular site, the red and the black indicate how quick it moves. So one I think is 1 to 3 minutes, one's like 5 or 10 minutes, but you can kind of take a look at it. Now here's one. So the White Sox and Toronto, it opened at minus 200. It's down to minus 193. So then since it's coming down, that means people are betting on the Chicago White Sox side. So you want to kind of take a look at the different money. And here I've got I won't bring that one up. So I share a screenshot of the DK Sportsbook, the money. I usually post it in the premium chat group an hour before game time to show where all the money is. This is just kind of a public free one that everybody can see. So just take a look at what the money's on. If you like the opposite side, that's fine. I mean, the majority of public is going to lose, so don't worry about it. But if you see something in this like this, 92%, 83%, stuff around 99, 98, then take a look at it. Be careful if you go against it. Make sure you know what you're going to do. So line movement and money is something that you can follow and track and kind of keep an eye on to see, what the general public is doing. Now, keep in mind the general public are not winners, but you can kind of get an idea of where the public bets are that are going to be pretty chalky. So the next thing I want to talk about are parlays. So I do not like to come up here and lay like minus 335. So what can you do to get around that? Well, parlays, think of a parlay card as picking 2, and I think most books go up to 8 to 10 games, and you put them all on the same card, and they all have to win. If one of them loses, the entire card loses, but it pays really good odds. And if you want to calculate this, if you don't have a sports book, you can go into Google and just type Parlay Calculator. Well, I guess you can't say it. Parlay Calculator. Like this is VI. But there's a lot of them in here. And they do it, based on a $100 bet. So let's say we're going to take Golden State minus 175. We're going to take the Dodgers minus 335. And then we're going to take this other team minus 162. We're going to put all 3 of those on a parlay card. We're going to risk $100. We're going to calculate it. It's going to pay $230. So you can just look at this and say, okay, 100 wins 230. So it's plus 230. So 2.3 to 1. So if you want to say, hey, I want to bet $10, then it's going to come here and it's going to pay $23. So it kind of gives you an idea. If you're a $25 bettor and you want to know exactly what it is, you put in 25, it's going to pay $57.50. So you can take a lot of these big favorites like this minus 335, minus 175, minus 162, put them together and get plus money. That's what I prefer to do in baseball. I usually won't lay anything that's minus 200 or greater straight up. What I like to do is find a game that's usually plus money, or let's say minus 110 that I really like. And then I don't mind putting a couple minus 200 games in there that I really like, or say you have a good side on, and then you're looking at 329. So I'm getting basically 3.29 to 1 odds on that. So it basically, if I really like game 2 and game 3 that are minus 200, and I have a good feeling on this minus 110, which is a straight bet, I can juice this up and do 1 unit to win 3.29 units. So that's what I prefer to do. Now, if you get some plus monies in there, like let's say we had Pittsburgh last night on a play, and they were plus 220. So say you did minus 110, you did the Pirates plus 220, and then a minus 200. Now look, it really jumps up. So now you're over 8 to 1, so you're paying 8.16 to 1. So let's say you put your $25 on it, that's going to pay $204. If you're a small bettor and you do $10, it's going to pay $81. So you can generate different outcomes and calculations on a parlay card. And with a parlay, we're going to go back over here. You can take the money line here, and then so say we're going to take Golden State minus 175, and then let's go over here to MLB and see what they got. So MLB, say we're going to take Yankees minus 125, but then over here we want to take this run line because it's plus 130. You can kind of mix and match and move them around, and it will give you different ones. Now you can see I've clicked these. One thing I like about this book by bookies, it tells you right up top. If you parlay them, it's plus 550. And you can go down and get into the nitty gritty of it. But it has it right here. Can you see that on your screen? Yeah, right here. And say we want to add a 115, and we're going to take this. Let's throw a plus 165. You can see this change. Now we're up to plus 3,600. So that's going to pay 36 to 1. So for every $1, it's going to pay 36. So $10 is going to pay 360. And you can kind of see that down here and then go through and make your bet. So that's one thing I like about the MyBookie site. So parlays are basically you can do different sports. What I like about this time of the year is you can put an NBA play on there, put a total with it. You can go over, take an NHL side you like that's in the playoffs right now, and then throw a couple MLB games, so you can mix all these sports together and have a fun sweat tonight. So for example, you could take the over in the Colorado Avalanche game, you could take Colorado, then you could take, say, Boston plus 145, and then throw 1 or 2 MLB games on and get a pretty good payday. You could probably get plus 800 to plus 1,000, mixing stuff up like that. Now, parlays they pay more because you're taking actual game lines or the money lines. Now, teasers are a lot of fun. I love teasers. I only do teasers in NFL football, though. And so there's 2 types of teasers. You have your smaller ones, which are 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5 points. Or you have specialty teasers, which I absolutely love. And we're going to go over those. And they're 10 to 13 points. So a typical 3-team 10-point teaser is usually minus 120. Some books have minus 130. So you do have to lay plus money, but for example, let's go to NFL Week 1. Let me scroll down here. That's college. Okay, so NFL Week 1, what game do we pull? Saints, Falcons. So right here we have Saints and Falcons. So we can see Saints open at minus 3.5. It's currently minus 5 against the Falcons. So we can go over here. So the line is currently Saints minus 5 or Falcons plus 5. So if we put this game on a 10-point teaser, our minus 5 goes to plus 5. So one of the big things a lot of professional sports bettors prefer not to do on a teaser is cross 0. So this would be a no-no in their mind, going from minus 5 to plus 5. They don't like doing that. They prefer doing stuff like on the Falcons side, going plus 5, that jumps at the plus 15. So you want to cross the big numbers in football of 7, 10, and 14. Those are the main ones. So if a game is plus 4.5 and you put it on a 10-point teaser, you can get the plus 14.5. So you get 2 touchdowns and the hook. So that's a lot of fun. But you got to put 3 of them together, and then you're still laying a little bit more money. So for example, in this week 1, so here we have Broncos. They're minus 4. So if you took Seahawks plus 4, you could take that to plus 14. We have Chiefs and Chargers week 2. Oh, that'll be a good game. So right now, Chiefs are minus 3. So if you like the Chargers, you could go Chargers plus 3 and bump it to plus 13. And then you can do the same thing. Now, most books will only let you do teaser total teased in half of the amount. So if it's a 3-team 10-point teaser, you can usually only do 1 total. It won't let you do 2 because 2 is the majority of the 3. So for example, let's put one together. Or here, let me see if they'll let me do one on my bookie. Let me clear this out. So I'm going to clear this out, and I'm going to see if they got NFL Week 1 lines up, and we'll see what a teaser looks like, because these are a lot of fun. So let's see, NFL game odds, they do have them. So let's say Bills, Rams. So say we're going to take the Bills, and then we are going to take, let's find someone that's plus money. Patriots plus 2.5. And then, boy, this thing won't go away. And let's just pick Bears plus 6.5. So we're going to do these 3. So over here it has straight, parlay. So straight bet, we talked about, you're betting each individual game a certain amount. A parlay is when you put them all together and they all have to win. And so you can kind of see the money on there. And then the teaser, so when we tease them all, so right now the normal Vegas line is Bills pick, Patriots plus 2.5, Bears plus 6.5. So if we do a 6-point teaser, it's going to take Bills to plus 6, Patriots to plus 8.5, and Bears to plus 12.5. Or you can go to a 10-point teaser, and it's going to take this to Bills plus 10, Patriots plus 12.5, and Bears plus 16.5. So those are a lot of fun to bet. Let me see if it'll let me put a total in there. All right, so now we put this one in there. Okay, it'll let me do 1 total. So this San Francisco Bears game's over 42. If I put it on a 10-point teaser, my over 42 goes to over 32. And so those are almost gimmies. There's almost 30 points in every game, and you get to pick which one it is. So you can go from like 44 to 34, 46 to 36. So those are a lot of fun because you can usually eye mark one. There are a few sports books that will let you tease all totals, and that is a lot of fun because you can get those nailed down by halftime. So they're fun to take a look at. So when you're betting, just go ahead and decide, do you want to do straight bets? Do you want to do a parlay? That's more for someone that wants to risk less, win more. Or do you want to do a teaser who you're going to have a high win percentage, but when you do lose, it's going to hurt. And so hopefully this video kind of helped you get started. Hopefully you can look at this now and understand what the plus 6.5, minus 6.5 means, what the plus 220, minus 270 means, and what the over 44.5 or under 44.5 means when you're making your bets. You should understand the basics of what a teaser is versus a parlay. And then I'll probably do another video later on and talk more about if, when, and listing pictures and stuff like that, some of the more advanced stuff. But this is just kind of a sports betting basics 101 for everybody. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up. Thanks, guys.